So, what constitute a film? Because today, when there's somebody who's just getting started, they're like, yeah, there are a bunch of tools to generate images, there are a bunch of tools to generate video. But what actually constitutes a film? Is it just these different pieces of videos or images put together just in a neat package? Or is it really the story or the idea that's just getting conveyed? So talk to us about how you view the way AI is actually shaping the whole angle to storytelling beyond just creating content and putting it out there.
Yeah, so I think, people often get caught up in the amazing kind of visual capabilities, right? You're
Mm.
able to make these maybe not cinema level quality, but these amazing visuals of that would take, years of animation experience or, really high profile cameras or whole sets. And now you're able to do that really easily. And so I think
Mm.
people that's wonderful on one hand, but then I think sometimes people get lost by that by
Caught up.
sometimes story gets, under recognized or sound design, which are all these important parts of making an AI film. And of course, technically from an AI film perspective, it's just some type of content, whether it's a movie, a narrative film, a music video that uses AI in some shape or form. However, I like to think about it as going one step deeper of if you're using AI, like why are you using the AI tools versus,
Mm.
going out with a camera on your iPhone or shooting with your friends, thinking intentionally about it. There's this great media studies professor and called Marshall McLuhan, and
Mm.
he had this famous quote that said, "The medium is the message." So essentially thinking about the medium that you're conveying the story in is part of the story in and of itself. So, thinking about the tools you're using, what do they add to the story? Are you
Mm.
using AI just for the sake of it? Or are you using it to get you somewhere that you wouldn't have been able to achieve otherwise? So I think um those learning those storytelling components is still incredibly important. The AI tools are easily learnable. You could, get one of these free trials. You could watch some YouTube tutorials, and
Mm.
I'm sure that anyone, just because the empowerment of it, anyone could become an expert in using that specific tool. However, crafting that story, creating
Mm.
impactful characters that have some type of emotional response, being able to think about it and have this complexity to your work, that takes some time and effort to do well, and a lot of love goes into that, into developing that craft. So I think
Mm.
that's still a really important skill set, and especially I'm excited for when right now there's a big tension between traditional filmmakers and,
Oh, yeah.
AI technologists. However, I think the traditional filmmakers are actually gonna be the target audience. They are gonna be the ones who are the best at using the tools. The AI technologists are great at pushing the boundary and making, pushing the limits of the technology,
Mm.
but sometimes they struggle with telling stories or telling these complex narratives.
Yeah.
Conversely, the traditional filmmaker, they're great at crafting these characters, writing dialogue, and knowing how to, edit and pace things.
Mm.
But in terms of being early adapters to the technology or, that's where they struggle a bit. So how do you bring those two sides together where they can both lean on their strengths and make films that have both a impactful story and great visuals, not just, one or the other?
Mm.
I think the AI filmmaker, it's still a very kind of, we're all figuring it out. No one really
Mm.
knows exactly what you're doing, but that's part of the excitement of it, where it's like the early days of cinema. There are, no rules, or the rules are meant to be broken. And for those people who
Yeah.
are critical of it or who are anti AI, I'd say
Mm.
it's good to be critical, right? We should be looking at this through a lens where, people are held accountable. We're thinking thoughtfully about how and why it's being used. But I would say come into it with an open mind. Give it a
Mm.
try before making a snap decision. And that's what we're trying to do with the competition is, it's your right to be critical of how these tools are being used, but I think by most people's minds can be changed if they actually see how empowered that Now you don't have to be 50% creative and 50% entrepreneurial in order to get
Yeah.
your films made. You don't have to go out and find a location and rent all this expensive camera
Yeah.
equipment. Now anyone is able to do that.